Sports by Northwest is supported by the Pacific Office Automation 147, coming June 2nd and 3rd to Portland International Raceway. Hello and welcome to Sports by Northwest. It's a Friday. I'm Bill Oram, joined today by a very special guest, a familiar voice to longtime listeners of the show, Oregonian and Oregon Live sports editor Joel Odom. Joel, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Special guest. I like it. Appreciate that.
I mean, I obviously got to drum up the interest, but Joel, it's an interesting time because here we are. We're in the off season of the Blazers. You know, we're wrapping up spring football in the state of Oregon. The NBA playoffs are underway. Big games in the NBA tonight. Actually, two closeout games in the West here on the West Coast, where you've got the Lakers and Warriors both leading their series 3-2 as underdogs, at least from a seeding standpoint, with a chance to close out in at home. Have you been watching the NBA playoffs, Joel?
Off and on, I have been. Yes, there have been some awesome games and awesome individual performances. I've really enjoyed the playoffs so far.
It seems to be the postseason of shots to the groin and suspensions and ejections, and also, I mean, it's been a lot of side drama, more than I can really remember in past seasons. In the first round, like I just don't remember a year where I felt like there was so much. I don't know where it felt like there was just so much violence happening on the court this year. That feels unique to this season.
Yeah, it does seem like that, for all the first round series, you've got, some pretty dramatic happenings. And to your point, it seems like some of this stuff is more typical for conference finals level series. So. Yeah,
Draymond doesn't usually pull out the dirty moves until the finals. So in the playoffs, obviously you saw Miami knock off top seeded Milwaukee in the East, which was a huge upset. At least again from a seeding standpoint, Miami obviously not a team to be taken lightly, as Milwaukee learned. I think somebody had the headline, I didn't see it, but was buck around and find out, and I thought that was pretty apropos for the situation. If you had to pick, Joel, if one of the two teams playing tonight, the Warriors or the Lakers, is going to close out their series at home tonight, which one do you think is more likely to close it out and move on?
I think either one could, but I guess I'd say more likely the Warriors. What's your take on that?
I think I agree. I was going to say the Warriors too. I mean, I think that, the Lakers had a chance to really take command of this series in game 2 when Memphis was without Ja in game 2 in Memphis. And Memphis is a very good team. They're lacking some depth. They're missing some key players, but this Lakers team is up and down, and I think a little fatigued. I mean, the fact that they were pushing for that 7 seed, they had to win the play-in game, had the overtime game in game 4, then had to go to Memphis. I mean, the Lakers could do it, and LeBron you can't count out, but I just really do feel like Golden State has the momentum. They've won 3 in a row in that series. I think that you're talking about a really young Sacramento team that hasn't been there before. Young in terms of age, right? De'Aaron Fox, but also young in terms of experience in the postseason. I think, that they might be a little bit shook by the full throttle, Warriors, and they've gotten the full experience in this series. So I think Golden State closes out. And the Lakers might too, but I think the Warriors are in a better position.
I was going to agree with you, though, that on LeBron, I mean, he's coming off a game where he only had, 15 points? It was a not very LeBron game, so he might be pretty motivated.
Well, and the thing about LeBron is, he is very good at, I covered him for 4 years in LA, and he tends to deliver on the things he says. You can, read him pretty well, when he knows a series is over or when he knows a season sunk. He doesn't hide that very well. And after Dylan Brooks, Oregon legend Dylan Brooks chirped at LeBron after game 2 and said, basically called him old. LeBron's basically said okay, this is his turn is coming, and he's delivered. And so then after game 5, he said, I played what, and that's not going to happen again. And I tend to believe him. Like, I take that pretty seriously. I think that probably is true. So, by the way, I want to get your opinion on this because I haven't written about it, and it's something that's been kind of on my mind. And we're gonna tie it back locally. This is Sports by Northwest, and Dylan Brooks is our current local tie to that series, to the LeBron series, and there seems to be a feeling that his sort of act has worn thin. And listen, Dylan Brooks is the guy who committed maybe the all-time most obvious flop in the history of basketball in that game against Utah when he was playing for the Ducks. So I mean, Dylan Brooks has always been, a
polarizing figure.
Has always engaged in the sort of fringe window dressing of basketball, let's say, and it has made him a polarizing figure. Do you like his act and what he brings to the table, or are you kind of over it?
I guess I would say I'm more over it. It doesn't bother me terribly. I think that a little bit of that helps the game. It does, create interest and rivalry type of a feel. But would I prefer that, he just sort of move on and play basketball more often than not? Yes. How about you?
I don't know why. I like it. I like it from Dylan Brooks, and I like it more than I like. I really disliked the whole Draymond scene in Game 2 in Sacramento. I disliked the stomp on Sabonis. Like, I understand Sabonis grabbed his leg, and we can debate whether Sabonis was protecting his head. I've been in that situation, where you kind of get tangled up, and it's like you got a chance to like sort of, get I don't know. I can understand like how he might have gotten kind of put in a position where he grabbed at Draymond's leg. That's dirty, but the stomp was dirtier. And then you lose all credibility when you stomp on a guy. Oh, you can't claim it's an accident if you then don't like check to make sure that you didn't like seriously harm him. And then the whole playing it up like a WWE star to the crowd with the commissioner in attendance. I hated that. And like and for some reason I look at that really differently than I look at Dylan Brooks, because Dylan Brooks, he's got the the sunglasses and the the outrageous fashion and the big talk, and he's not Draymond Green, right? He doesn't have the credentials of Draymond Green. But I like that he believes in himself. I like that he, is willing to, go at the biggest star in the game. I thought his flagrant 2 in Game 3 was soft. I thought that was, one of the commentators said that he was, trying to take away the crossover dribble, which it looks like to me as well. So, I mean, as groin shots go, I thought that was pretty soft. But it's like, I mean, I watched The Wire. I think you were a Wire watcher as well at one point. No?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So you come at the king, you best not miss. Yeah. And that's where Dylan Brooks, falls short. But like, I don't really mind that he went at the king. I mean, it's an unfair fight, and maybe he should know better. But I guess I don't know. Like, what is he supposed to do? It's the playoffs. He's supposed to be reverential of oh my goodness, is LeBron James. Like, no, he's old, and we're gonna beat him. And that's not how it has gone. But I don't mind it at all.
You do have to believe in yourself when you're there. You can't be scared. You can't feel like you have to like play up to the competition. No, you gotta feel like you're in this. You're in this, and your team's in this.
Yeah. So Joel, we're talking about all this because the local basketball team, the Portland Trailblazers, is not in the playoffs, and the Portland Trailblazers are our only professional basketball franchise. Something that is going to change in the fall. And we can talk about the Blazers, and we can talk about their offseason, and we can talk about the lottery, and do they get Victor, and if not, where does that go? And then how do you build a winning team around Damian Lillard? Is that even possible, or are they just selling as a bill of goods? All of that. We're going to talk about that all summer. I don't know how many opportunities we're going to have to talk about the new G League team and not lose an audience. But I feel like right now, and I did a podcast about this with Aaron Fentress earlier this week, kind of breaking down the value of a new G League team, kind of the what we know about a G League team. And Joel, here's what we don't know about the G League team. We don't know what it's going to be called. And I've written This is kind of up my lane in terms of like wordplay and naming things.
Do you like
I suggested
do you
that.
like puns,
Go ahead.
Bill?
It's been
It's been
alleged that I
alleged.
like
Yeah.
puns, which just leads me to this golden opportunity we have to brand a brand new basketball team playing games at Child Center in North Portland University Park. I don't know what the name is going to be. I don't know what direction they're going to go with this. Um, but I ask you, Joel Odom, a you are a master of words yourself. You are the editor of the department at the Oregonian, Oregon Live. Um, what do you think makes a good team name, particularly for a minor league basketball team in Portland, Oregon? What are you looking for?
I would say some kind of a local tie-in would be nice. Something that gives us a flavor of where the team is from, what we're talking about. Not a random, Lions or Tigers, right? Um,
Yep, totally.
and probably because it's G League, because it's minor league, it could probably be a little bit more out there and whimsical than one might want for a major league team, let's say. Um, so I would say those things, and something unique. Those would kind of be like my parameters for what I would hope for the nickname. Um, any other factors that criteria you would throw in there?
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm looking through the list of names now, and I would say about half of the existing 28 G League teams, maybe not quite half, a little less than half, have are essentially the same name as the team, right? Where you have of the NBA team, you have the South Bay Lakers who play in the South Bay of Los Angeles, the Lakeland Magic who play in Lakeland, Florida, the Long Island Nets. So I mean, you could always do like the North Portland Trailblazers or the University Park Trailblazers. I think that would be a missed opportunity. You know, the G League doesn't typically have like a big following. Like you don't have fans necessarily, but like there is a chance to carve out, a different, fan base. You're coming in at a different price point. I don't know how much like merch you're going to sell on the G League team, but like I think you try to carve out something sort of unique and individual. You
Don't
know,
want to go with the
it's
Bluff Trailblazers.
I mean, sure, I mean the Bluff Blazers could be not horrible. Um, but I think it's a little boring. I do like the Bluff though. I actually was talking to somebody about that the other day that you could have the Bluff in the name. But to me, it's not minor league baseball where you have the trash pandas and the what's the Amarillo the sod puppies or the sod
Sod
the
Poodles or something.
sod poodles. There you go. Yeah, the sod poodles. By the way, did you see? Speaking of the trash pandas, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, did you see that they led a game? Was it 2-0, and like they were in the middle of a no hitter and they ended up losing, or no, seven. They blew some ridiculous lead in the middle of a no hitter, and it stayed a no hitter, but with like walks, hit batters, and errors, they ended up losing this like I want to say like 7-0 lead in a game, and without giving up a hit. It was just unbelievable. So, and the fact that it happened to the Trash Pandas was just sort of perfect. But the G League doesn't do the Trash Panda thing. That is not really the brand of the G League. And Portland is weird. Keep Portland weird. Would they go that route where you'd be I don't know. I don't know what the Portland version of the Trash Pandas or the Sod Poodles would be. The the river monsters, something, I don't know. But I don't think that's it. I don't think you go weird. I think you embrace the brand, and then it's however you can sort of type it. Because the other thing is, like, Portland has had so many failed professional sports teams. You've had the Chinooks, you had the Lumberjacks, obviously with the X for lacrosse. You've had a name I liked, by the way, was the Portland Steel, because like steel, like steal the ball, and you take the steel bridge to get to the Moda Center. But there was an arena league team called the Portland Steel. So a lot of these names have been utilized. So I'm kind of coming up short on like what would be a really, really good team name. I did suggest the Exploding Whales, in a recent column for whatever the next expansion team was going to be. And then literally the next day, the Eugene Emeralds announced that they were going to play as the Exploding Whales. That's actually coming up here in next week as well, next weekend. But
it seems like with
I
that
don't think I
track,
get credit
it
for
seems
that.
like with that track record, if you could just throw out what you want the team name to be called, there's at least a 50% chance that that's what it will be. So,
I mean, I would hate to be right again. But like, I mean, the Rose City something, the
Bridge City.
Stumptown something. I mean, the fact you've got the St. John's Bridge is right there. I mean, I did think it was maybe a little interesting that the Blazers used the St. John's Bridge in their rollout on social. They did sort of an etching of the St. John's Bridge to roll out the new G League team. I thought that was kind of interesting. So maybe there will be something there. But I mean, something about the river, something about North Portland, the NOPO, something. I don't know. I wish I had better. I wish I had better specific ideas, but it's not coming to me, which is weird.
That surprises me. That's unbill like.
Well, I feel like most team names have been used in the city of Portland and around the state. I will tell you a story though. Do you remember, Joel? You were at the Oregonian, and I was in college. Do you remember when Merritt Paulson bought the Beavers, the AAA baseball team, the Beavers, and the Beavers colors used to be red and black, right? When Merritt Paulson bought the team, he did a whole rebrand, and the colors became like powder blue and dark blue, and the beaver changed. The image of the beaver itself changed. At one point, though, the Beavers were also exploring changing their name, and Merritt Paulson. I don't know specifically Merritt, like he was writing the code for the website, but whoever was doing this, they had a like submit names for what you think that the new team for what the new name of the Portland Beavers should be for AAA baseball in Portland. And I put it in the suggestion box, the Portland Thorns. And it is my belief to this day that Merritt Paulson, sitting in his office, saw that submission back in 2006 or 7, whenever it was, and he held on to that until he launched the NWSL team, and that's how we have the Portland Thorns.
Filed that one away.
Pretty sure that was my doing.
Good job.
So do you want the G League team name to be something quirky and like funny, or do you want it to be like a little more serious?
I don't want it to be the Blazers at all. I do want it to differ from the big league club. A little whimsy would be okay with me. Completely off the wall might be a little off-putting, but
what about like you get a sponsor and then you just call the team like the Stumptown Roasters? It's like we're going to the Roasters game.
Probably wouldn't be my favorite, but it would be okay. I mean, I can't argue against money. I get it. I get the whole money thing,
I mean, I don't get the whole money thing. That's why I want sponsorships. What about something that ties in like the history of the team? Like somebody else I talked to the other day suggested the Portland 77ers.
I like that. I do like that.
The 77ers. Yeah. The only thing I have against the 70, I have two things against the 77ers. One, the 76ers affiliate in Delaware is the 87ers. So you would have the 87ers and 77ers would play each other at least once a year. Two, what if the Blazers win another championship?
Yeah, like I mean, that's always going to be.
I guess 77 is always going to be.
Going to always be the original,
It won't necessarily always be the only championship, but it will always be the first.
Yeah. What if they called them the Spirits of 77?
Ooh, I don't hate the Portland Spirits of 77.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, the Portland Spirit, I guess, is the Spirit is an NWSL team in Washington D.C. All right, so we have thought this through. We've come up with almost nothing. But if you're listening, please shoot us a note and let us know if you have any suggestions. We can certainly do our best to put those out into the world and to promote the best suggestions. And also, please keep in mind that we are launching, Joel, this is a good time to mention that we are launching a subtext campaign. What is subtext, you ask? Well, it's an opportunity to text directly with me, Bill Oram, columnist of the Oregonian and Oregon Live, and Aaron Fentress, co-host often of Sports by Northwest and the Blazers beat writer for Oregon Live. Shoot us a text, and we will text you on the regular with our thoughts, insights, and opinions on all things sports. You can shoot us a text at 503-749-9294 to get started, 503-749-9294. And we'll be texting every day, really starting next week, I think is when it's going to really take off. But we'll be talking all things Blazers, Beavers, Ducks, and the wide world of sports, things that we discuss on this podcast. If you have been listening, you know that we have talked about the future of baseball and the WNBA and high school sports and colleges at large, the future of the Pac-12. I mean, these are all subjects that we're going to be diving into more and more and more. Joel, this weekend, I'm going to be at in Eugene for the Oregon spring game. It is obviously a big event, you'd say the kickoff to Dan Lanning's second season at Oregon, 10-3 last year. Bo Nix is back for a second season. Joel, a year ago at this point in time, I was covering the Lakers, but a year ago when the Ducks had their spring game, there were questions about quarterback, and the thought was, is Bo Nix, is he going to be the guy who was the dude at Auburn transferring in and he just automatically becomes the dude at Oregon, or is he going to be the guy who had to leave Auburn, and does that make it time for Ty Thompson to assume the reins? It feels like a ridiculous question in hindsight, because Bo Nix had, one of the great years, that an Oregon quarterback has had. I mean, there've been some great ones, but it was right up there. He was kind of wedging his way into the mix for the Heisman Trophy discussion, but right up until the moment he got injured against Washington, he played hurt against Utah, Oregon State, and then came back and won the Holiday Bowl against North Carolina. Are your expectations for Bo Nix next season, and we're not going to get these answers in the spring game on a Saturday in April, but are your expectations that he matches that performance? Do you think that he should be in that preseason Heisman Trophy discussion, or did he set the bar so high with everything and kind of catching us all off guard with how good he was and how the Ducks utilized him, that he can only, there's nowhere to go but down?
No, I think the former. I think that there's a greater likelihood that he plays at the level he did last year or even above. Another year in the system. I mean, I know there's a new, offensive coordinator, but still, just I think he showed there's no reason for me to believe that he's gonna fall off from where things were last season. And so I think for Ducks fans, that's really exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, short of injury, right, and knock on wood there, that was the only thing that slowed him down last year, really. And I do think, there probably has been a little bit there was probably an over-reliance on Bo Nix in the run game last year, especially in short yardage situations, because he was just so reliable on fourth down. I mean, you go back to some of those early wins, kind of those season-defining tone culture wins, BYU, UCLA. It was Bo Nix and his legs and short yardage situations and going for it on fourth down that really sort of created this idea of what that team was. Obviously, that's part of his game going forward, but that's also where we saw him get injured in the Washington game. And, you can second guess individual play calls all you want. I have to think there's going to be some intentionality on the part of Dan Lanning, but especially Will Stein, the new offensive coordinator, to protect Bo maybe a little bit better than they did last year. That said, I mean, you wouldn't tell Ja Morant to stop attacking the rim, right? And so it's the same thing. I mean, it's what Bo does well, and it's what put him, to me, that's what put him in the Heisman race last year. Was his versatility, his ability to use his legs, and his just sort of his toughness, and you don't want to take that away from him. So I think, like you said, every reason to think that he's going to be just as good. I mean, the receivers, were a question mark last year, a little bit of a question mark this year, but you have a lot coming back offensively too, especially Bucky Irving in the backfield. So, I mean, Bo has weapons around him yet again. I would expect him to have another big year.
Yeah. And I think that, just speaking quickly to the him running the ball and putting himself in harm's way potentially. It's definitely a balance, but I feel like that you can't completely take that away, because that was such a huge part of what made them dangerous, attacking defenses. So it's a balance, but I think it's not as though we're not going to continue to see, Bo Nix keeping the ball lots of times and picking up first downs in key situations.
Yeah, and I think the thing that was most impressive about Bo last year was his adaptability after suffering the injury. I mean, that season could have really gone downhill. I mean, and it did, right? I mean, ended up losing to Washington. They lost at Oregon State. But to beat Utah and to beat Utah at home when Bo was severely hobbled, and I thought the scheme and the play calling and the decisions they made to protect Bo and put him in quick passing, short pass situations, get the ball out quickly, was really, really smart, really clever. And I thought the fact that he was able to be to completely transform the way he played and still be as effective as he was, throwing darts all the way down the field was really impressive. And I think it bodes well to his ability to maybe adjust to whatever like wrinkles they want to add to his game this year. I hear the cat meowing. Joel, is your cat meowing?
Yeah, the cat's upset. The cat had surgery. Well, it's been about a week now, but the stitches are still in, so she's not particularly feeling her best. So there you go.
What's the cat's name?
Oh, this cat is Queso.
Like the cheese. Queso the cheese.
Well,
we send our best wishes from Sports by Northwest family to Queso.
Yeah, she's on the med. She'll be okay. She's
but she'll be okay. So, but also I do want to say that the reason I asked what her name was I mean, we're talking about naming things. I just wanted to get a sense of your sort of credibility as a namer of.
I probably have lost
animals.
I probably have lost a little credibility with my naming of animals. I have a dog. Her name is Matilda, but we really rarely call her Matilda. We call her Potato. And then we have another cat named Cheddar.
As you would.
And then we have another cat named Cheddar. So we had Cheddar, and then we got Queso. So, not sure that was the best call, but they look a lot alike, and so that's why. And we got them at different times, and so that's how that came about.
Your Nacho, that was a good choice.
Yeah.
Nacho.
Yeah, nacho choice.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. On that note, on that sharp downturn, we're gonna get out of here. Sports by Northwest. I do want to again refer people to our new service, the new texting service that I was talking about. Aaron Fentress and I will be sending out texts every day. This is an opportunity for you to engage directly with us. I mean, it is it is Twitter, but with depth, nuance, and a real back and forth that you can have with us. There's a monthly fee after an initial introductory period, so you can check it out totally free of charge for 2 weeks. See if you think it's worth your time and money. We think it's going to be. We think it's something you're going to enjoy. So shoot a text to sign up. It's 503-749-9294, 503-749-9294. Get yourself signed up and start receiving and sending texts. Until then, I'm Bill Oram. Thank you today to Joel Odom, sports editor at the Oregonian and Oregon Live, for joining me, sharing his thoughts on the wide, wild world of sports in the Northwest and a little bit beyond with the NBA playoffs. It was an absolute pleasure to connect with him and get his thoughts on things. So we'll be back next week with more Sports by Northwest. Until then, I'm Bill Oram. Thank you for listening.